As a result of my desire to help the homeless, the results that I got were phenomenal. During all of these conversations and all these thoughts of these stories that I wanted to share with them to inspire them, I also asked God to give me the exact trigger words that I would need. In other words, the hook words, the words that each and every one of the people who would show up at the intro that they would need to trigger them, to get them excited to want to be in my class. And that, I gotta admit, I did beg God for those words. It kept coming to me what an honor and a privilege it was going to be for me to be able to serve this level of humanity, these people who had chosen a difficult path. I wanted to share this with them, and I told them from the very bottom of my heart, everything that I was saying was totally sincere, that I really felt honored that I could serve them with the Silva techniques and just show them another way to transform their lives. Now, on the fourth day of the class, a man named Warren came up to me, and he said, I have some good news I want to share with you. And I looked at him, he looked so excited, and he could see my excitement. I didn't even know what he was going to tell me. And he said, I actually slept in a real bed last night for the first time in over 2 years. Because he shared that with me, I asked him, I said, Warren, I'm going to ask you a question, and you don't have to answer me if you don't want to, but why have you been on the street? And so here's Warren's story. Sometimes this is difficult for me to share because I tend to go right back to when he was telling me the story, so you'll have to excuse me taking some deep breaths. He said that 3 years before, he and his wife and 14-year-old daughter lived out in California, and they had a very happy, prosperous life. They lived in a beautiful home. They both had an excellent career. Their daughter was doing well in school. They had 2 cars and a truck and a big boat. Everything was going their way. They were very happy. And then on a holiday, when they came back to Baltimore, while he was in town, his 19-year-old son from a previous marriage was shot and killed on the street. And he said that the pain and the grief from his son's death was so insurmountable. And what made it even worse was that he had so much guilt. He felt like that if he had just given his son enough training to be streetwise, that would never have happened to him. So somehow or another, he blamed the entire incident on himself. In the beginning, because he was a professional person, he went to a doctor and got prescription drugs to help relieve the pain of the guilt and the grief. And for a while, they worked. And when they no longer worked, he started doubling up on the prescription pills. And when they no longer worked, then he started seeking other avenues into illegal drugs. And he said it only took 10 months before he lost everything. He didn't go back to California with his wife and daughter. They lost everything out there. They moved into a very small apartment. And he had been on the street all this time since then. Now, he said, when you came into town in December, and I was in that intro, he said there was something that you said. Now remember, I had begged God to give me the trigger words. He said there was something that you said that made me think there was a little ray of hope that maybe I didn't have to be on the street the rest of my life. Maybe I'd eventually be able to join my family back in California. He said, so that's what got me in your course. Now he says, I've got to tell you that the day before the class, I almost didn't come because I was offered a job. Now, it was a job in an illegal vein where I would have just stayed where I am now. He said, but I remembered that statement that you made that gave me some hope. And he said, I decided that I was going to give you a chance. And he said, then when you talked about guilt and how it was one of the most powerfully destructive energies in the universe, he said, I started thinking about what had happened to me when I started letting guilt run my life. And he said, I've used your techniques all week, in the morning, the afternoon, every time we go to level. He said, I have totally reprogrammed that guilt into love, and the love for the ones of my family who are still living and the desire to be back with them. He said, and I have just done so well this week. He said, and here's what I want to tell you. I won't be able to be here tomorrow. Well, then he saw the happiness in my face drain. And he said, an old boss from years ago heard my story this week, and he got word to me through the people on the street that I have a job if I want it tomorrow, and that's why I won't be here. So I can't tell you what that did for me. It was just so exciting to see someone who had allowed guilt and beating up on himself with guilt, lose everything, be on the street, and really think there was no hope that he could ever get off the street, and just see in 4 days what the Silva techniques could do for this one person. And I thought if my life ended right now, I could feel good about it for this one story. So in 4 days, he was able to change his guilt-ridden, fear, self-image to someone who could be successful and rejoin his family. Now, there's more to the story. I went back in June to teach another homeless class. This time it was in a suburb, not in the center of the city where the first one was. So word got around to Warren that I was back in town, and he took off work, got on a bus, and came all the way out to where we were having the class, and he wanted to share with the new students what had taken place in his life since January. He said, I just want you all to know that not only did I get a job, and through these techniques was I able to sleep better. During the day when I would start to get anxious or have some of that old stuff surface about the guilt, I could just take a deep breath, go to level, connect with higher intelligence, and just be totally calm. He said it got to the point where I was actually able to admit myself into a weekend detoxification program, and that was the beginning of my rehabilitating myself. And up to that point, I had no desire for rehabilitation. And in that class, we had a nurse who had lost her job because she had stolen a number of the drugs right from her department, and at one point was caught. They fired her. Within 30 to 60 days, she lost her apartment, and at this point, she'd been living out on the street for about a year when she came into my class. She was so inspired by the success that Warren had, who had the same addiction, the crack cocaine addiction that she had, that it inspired her to actually use the techniques even more than she had been using them prior to Warren sharing this story. And then that fall, not only was she able to rehabilitate herself, but she totally changed careers. She was afraid to try to get back into the nursing system because she would be tempted by the drugs that she could possibly get interested in again, and she chose to go into the mortgage business, and she now has a very successful career in just 4 months after taking the Silva techniques and using them. So this is why I am so positive that no matter what impediments you have in your life, I know that you can overcome them using these techniques. So the point in my sharing this story with you is to emphasize to you how important it is to not only listen to your intuition, but to follow on it, to act on it, and then to look for coincidences, and then to have the right attitude. Like we've said many times during this training, if it's going to help more than one person, if it's going to help solve a problem for humanity, if it's going to help make the planet a better place to live. So if you've got the right attitude and you pay attention to the coincidences and you actually follow your intuition, some wonderful, wonderful things can happen in your life. I kept getting some intuition back in 1989, and I listened to it, and what followed from just listening to that intuition, noticing some coincidences, and wanting to serve the whole Soviet Union, I ended up on a trip to Russia that was one of the most phenomenal things that's ever happened to me in my life. Now, when I first heard that there was a chance that I could go, of course, once again, what I call my left brain, Jonelle, that left brain logic, said there's no way you can afford to do this. There's no way you have the time to do this. There's all these obstacles. And once again, I chose to listen to my Silva training, to listen to that higher intelligence, intuition that was guiding me to go over there. And as it turned out, the 15 days that I was there, some absolutely phenomenal things happened in 4 major cities of the Soviet Union. I was actually able to just walk into public schools, and because I had an American accent, they were so excited they would bring around the English interpreter, and they were taking me into classrooms. They were pulling in 2 and 3 other classrooms. I was speaking to 90 to 100 kids at a time in giving them hope and giving them the Silva Systems techniques where they could actually learn how to go to level, make that connection with higher intelligence, know what it was that they should be doing, and start doing it. And not to look around them and be devastated by some of the situations that they would see around them. I didn't want them to be programmed by what they were seeing, but to be programmed by their dreams. And I had some intuition before I went over there, and I ended up calling this company, and I got 6,000 happy face stickers. And I took those 6,000 happy face stickers, and I put them everywhere all over Russia that I could. And I had a number of them left, and I'd give them to the students, and I just said, you know, if you will just take this happy face sticker, and you put it at eye level on your bathroom mirror, so that every morning when you are brushing your teeth, you will get a little symbol of the genius that you are and who you really are instead of who you've been programmed to be, and that's the way you should start your day. And I mean, they love those stickers. And I also took 400 little bears with American and Soviet flags and passed them out, and then another 400 bears for lapel pins that had the American flag. And I had all of these gifts that we used the Silva techniques for putting prosperity, for health, wealth, happiness, peace, harmony, love, light, security, success in career, success in family, success in relationships. And these, I guess it was about 1,000 gifts that I took over there that were not only programmed by me, but by every member of my congregation in Virginia Beach and by an entire Silva class at the World Convention, by something like 200 people who we put in a group prayer, we put in individual prayers, and then all the peace posters that I took with me, all that intelligence, all those beautiful happy vibrations. And those were the things that I spread out all over the Soviet Union. And everywhere I went, arms were wide open for me. One morning when we came down in Odessa from the hotel, it was like 9 degrees. It was snowing. We needed to get a cab, and every cab that went by was full, and we wanted to go to this one particular school where we were invited. The rest we just walked in cold turkey. And so when the bus driver showed up, it was really weird because there was nobody on the bus. And when we got on, my friend Marilyn Butler, who is an internationally known fabric artist, who actually won 2 times the peace banner that is now hanging in 2 different cities of Russia, showed him the address where we needed to go. And this Russian bus driver got off of his path and went around to the very front of the school where we needed to go to. And when we started to pay him, he would not take any money from us. And so at that point, I reached into my pocket and I pulled out a couple little bears and gave them to him. And he just had tears in his eyes. He was just so excited that we were there. So we were doing something right, because the coincidences that happened over there, I believe, happened because of all the prayers and the programming and the expectation and the desire that we had to serve and just be citizens for diplomacy from 2 American mothers. And as a matter of fact, when we got back, one of the Odessa Evening News and the Task both sent articles back to us that had been written up on us while we were there. And it said, 2 loving American mothers spreading a quilt of love and light around the planet.
Hi, this is Ed Barron back with you again. Let me fill you in on some exciting research that's been done by Silva Method graduate that deals with the way human beings can communicate at a distance with various kinds of life forms within the environment, not only human beings, but with other life forms as well. Researcher is a man named Cleve Baxter. He's a polygraph expert, lie detector expert. He used to train members of the FBI and the CIA in the use of polygraphs. One night, back in 1966, late at night in his office in New York, no one was around, and he was just curious and decided he wanted to do some experimenting, so he hooked up his lie detector to the leaves of a plant. It was a dragon tree, member of the philodendron family. He connected the electrodes of the lie detector to the leaf, one electrode to one side, one electrode to the other side. And he watered the plant to see how long it would take water to get to the leaf or cause a reaction on the equipment. And it got there quicker than he expected. He did a few other things, and he was getting nice readings. So he was sitting there thinking about it and wondering, what could I do? He says, well, as a polygraph expert, I know that The way that a lie detector works is when a person is telling a lie, they're under stress, and that causes a reaction, which can be measured on the machine. I wonder what I could do to cause some kind of stress in the plant. And he thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go into my secretary's office and get some matches. She was a smoker, so he knew there were matches there. So he thought I could go in there and get some matches and burn that leaf that the electrodes are connected to. At the moment that he made that decision to do that, there was a huge reaction on the polygraph. He hadn't gone anywhere. He had not gotten out of the chair. There were no other variables except his thought and his decision to burn that leaf. Well, he said that changed his consciousness back in 1966, and it has never been the same since. He later took the Silva course when he heard about the research that Mr. Silva was doing. Well, Cleve Baxter went on to conduct a lot of research and a lot of experiments. He found that the emotions and the thoughts of a human being can be communicated over great distances to other cell life, even plants, as well as animals. That's been verified and replicated by other scientists who have also done the research. One interesting point about his research, though, is that you have to have a real intention to do something. There was one time a scientist called him up and says, I hooked up the electrodes, same electrodes you use, same type of equipment, dragon plant, dragon tree, just like you used, everything the same, and I thought about burning the leaf and nothing happened. There was no reaction. And Cleve Baxter said, did you actually intend to go burn the leaf? And the scientist said, well, no, I didn't intend to go burn it. You didn't burn the leaf. And Cleve Baxter said, no, I didn't go burn it, but I intended to do it. So there's a difference between pretend and intend. So when you have a real intent, then it will work for you. Mr. Silva always cautioned us, we don't use these wonderful intuitive tools that we have just to play games with. We use it when we have a real intent to correct problems. So that attitude makes a huge difference. Now, what we have found is that we can project our minds anywhere, any place to detect information. We can also project our minds to deliver information to other people. Now, what we can do with our minds at a distance is to affect life very easily. But we can affect other people with our thoughts that we have, even at a distance. A mother can do it with her child. Any mother can do that without even knowing how to go to alpha. In other situations where you want to communicate with people at a distance, you need to know how to enter the alpha level. Now, I'll give you a technique in just a moment that Mr. Silva calls the broadcasting technique, so that you can broadcast your message to anyone that you desire. One person, a group of people. You can broadcast your message to somebody you know. And even if you don't know who needs to receive the message, you can broadcast it anyway. We've had people do that when they wanted to sell a house, for instance. They had no idea who the buyer would be, so they would broadcast the message so that the perfect buyer could receive the message. When you take Silva training, we know and can guarantee that this technique will work for you reliably. When you practice on your own, you may have to practice a bit to get it working for you. Whenever you practice this technique, watch for indications that you're getting results with it. If you get a partial result, that's great. You go to your level, reinforce it, and program to get an even better result the next time. And you continue to do that to develop this technique. We call this effective sensory projection. Some people refer to things like this as remote viewing, mental telepathy, distant communications, a lot of things. Mr. Silva, conducting scientific research, looking for the repeatable experiment that he could repeat and get reliable results that other people could repeat, he put things in scientific terminology. So he refers to it as mental projection. In fact, that's what we mean with the term ESP, effective sensory projection. You can project your mind to detect information. You can project your mind to communicate information. Now, here's a way that you might want to do it. As the example, someone who wanted to sell a house, and many graduates have done this. You desire to sell a house. You can program yourself to wake up automatically at the best time to program. You do that by sitting up in bed, or you could sit on the edge of the bed. You turn your eyes upwards approximately 20 degrees in the area of your mental screen. It's a comfortable position. Then your eyes are upward 20 degrees relative to your face. Then lower your head about 20 degrees, like bow your head about 20 degrees. Then program yourself that I want to awaken at the best time to program, and I am going to awaken at the best time to program. Then stay at your level, go ahead and lie down, and go to sleep from your level. You will awaken during the night or in the morning at the perfect time to program. Now, sometimes if you have to wake up to go to the bathroom or something like that, you'll just have a sense, oh, that wasn't the time, that was because I needed to go to the bathroom. You will know, trust your intuition to know when you awaken, this is the time that's the best time for me to program. Again, sit up in bed. If it's cold weather, put a blanket around you. Mr. Silva emphasizes it is important to sit up in bed. Turn your eyes slightly upward, about 20 degrees relative to your face. Lower your head or bow your head about 20 degrees. Enter your level. And at this time, you can broadcast your message. For those who want to sell a house, the way they've used the technique is like this. They imagine that they're in a radio station and they're broadcasting their message out over the air, and it's going out through the antenna and reaching the perfect buyer for the house. Remember, we want a solution that is the best for all concerned. We want a win-win situation always. So maybe 100 people will come by and look at the house. One of them is the perfect buyer. All you have to do is identify who that is. Some people imagine they have a big megaphone and they're shouting to the crowd. Some people imagine they're in a football stadium and they're broadcasting over the loudspeaker system, broadcasting their message out so that that one perfect buyer will be among the people who come and who take a look. You can project to someone that you know. There have been situations. I had a work situation at one time shortly after I took the course where I was having a little difficulty communicating with the lady that I worked for. She was a wonderful person, but she was experiencing some challenges in her life. I was working on all the problems that I had at the time that I took the course, and somehow we got where we weren't communicating real well. We were not really functioning smoothly like we should have been doing. So I used this technique, and I broadcast my message to her. We both want the same thing, is what I told her. We both want the same thing. That is to do a good job for our customers. It was a printing business, a print shop. We both want to give them a great product at a fair price, to give them more value than what they're really paying us for, to make sure that they're satisfied with it. The better we can do at working together smoothly, if you can be a little bit patient with me from time to time, and I'll try to be more patient with you from time to time, I think we can do a better job for our customers. The company will prosper, and we'll both be happier with this. You know, whenever I'd use that technique, I'd go in that day, the following morning, and everything would just be so smooth, and we'd be doing great. Maybe a week or two later, we'd start having a little bit of friction again. I'd broadcast the message again, and it would get through that way. You can use this to improve your relationships. You can use this in business and so many different ways to use this broadcasting technique. And of course, after you finish your broadcast, you can just lie down and go back to sleep again. There have been times that I've used it and forgotten I used it. I'll go around the next day, and all of a sudden, people are coming and good things are happening, business things, relationship things, and I'll start thinking, wow, I must really be getting a better personality or something here. People are relating to me better. And then later on, perhaps at night when I'd go to my level, I'd remember that I used the technique and I did the broadcast. So it was really the technique that was working. So in the session that follows this one, Jonelle will guide you through the broadcasting technique and the mental exercise so that it will be programmed in exactly how to use it. That way you can use this technique whenever you need to. Monitor the results. Remember, every time you have a success, enter your level, reinforce that success so that you'll be just as successful the next time and more successful every time you use it.
This session includes the best time to program and the broadcasting techniques of Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP systems. I'm Jonelle Monaco Lytle, and I'll be your guide. Soon in the background, you will hear the gentle tapping of the alpha sound. This sound will help your brain adjust to the alpha rhythm. This tape is to be used with eyes closed, so do not play it when you are driving or performing any other activity that requires the use of your eyesight. Remember that if at any time you feel uncomfortable, readjust your position to make yourself more comfortable. If you feel you must open your eyes for any reason, then open your eyes and make yourself comfortable. If you open your eyes, then rewind the tape and start again at the beginning. Anytime you desire to relax mentally or verbally, repeat the word relax, and you will relax physically and mentally. This mind training exercise is based on one originally copyrighted by Jose Silva of Laredo, Texas in 1969 after 25 years of research. New material on this tape is copyrighted in the year 2000 by Silva Ultramind Systems. Reproduction for redistribution is strictly prohibited. Now prepare for this mind training exercise by finding a comfortable position. We will begin this exercise with the 3-to-1 method. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 3 times. To help you learn to relax physically at level 3, I am going to direct your attention to different parts of your body. Relax your scalp. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your face. Relax your throat. Relax your shoulders. Relax your chest externally and internally. Relax your abdominal area externally and internally. Relax your thighs. Relax your knees. Relax your calves. Relax your feet. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. This is your physical relaxation level 3. Whenever you mentally repeat and visualize the number 3, your body will relax as completely as you are now, and more so every time you practice. To enter mental relaxation level 2, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 2 3 times, and you are at level 2, a deeper level than 3. Level 2 is for mental relaxation, where noises will not distract you. Instead, noises will help you to relax mentally more and more. To improve mental relaxation at level 2, practice visualizing tranquil and passive scenes. To enter the basic plane level, take another deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 1 3 times. You are now at level 1, the basic plane level that you can use for a purpose, any purpose you desire. To help you enter a deeper, healthier level of mind, I'm going to count from 10 to 1. On each descending number, you will feel yourself going deeper, and you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind. 10, 9, feel going deeper. 8, 7, 6, deeper and deeper. 5, 4, 3, deeper and deeper. 2, 1. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. It is a wonderful feeling to be deeply relaxed, a very healthy state of being. Effective sensory projection statements for success. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on this planet so as to be aware of any actions taking place if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on any planet within the solar system, any solar system within the galaxy, and any galaxy within the universe so as to be aware of any actions taking place if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to the different matter kingdoms. The inanimate matter kingdom, any of its levels and depths. The animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence, plant life and animal life, any of its levels and depths. And the animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence and an awareness of existence, the human body and mind kingdom, any of its levels and depths. I am now learning to detect abnormalities whenever such abnormalities exist, within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to apply corrective measures and to bring back to normalcy any abnormality found within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. Negative thoughts and negative suggestions have no influence over me at any level of the mind. The following laws are to be considered when programming. Do to others only what you like others to do to you. The solution must be within the possibility area. The solution must help to make this planet a better place to live. The solution must be the best for everyone concerned. The solution must help at least 2 or more persons. The following principles apply to programming. Objective physical communication takes place at the beta left brain dimension using the objective physical senses. The hearing is used for perception and the voice is used for transmission. Subjective spiritual communication takes place at the alpha right brain dimension by using the spiritual senses. Visualization is used for perception and imagination is used for transmission. In the objective physical dimension, the past is behind us, the present is our present position, and the future is ahead of us. In the subjective spiritual dimension, the past is to your right, the present is centered straight ahead, and the future is to your left. Best time to program technique. When you are ready to go to bed and sleep, sit up in bed or on the edge of the bed. Close your eyes and turn them upwards approximately 20 degrees relative to your face. Lower your head approximately 20 degrees and enter your level with a 3-to-1 method. Once at your level, tell yourself mentally that you want to wake up automatically at the best time to program and that you are going to wake up automatically at the best time to program. Remain at your level, lie down, and go to sleep from your level. You will wake up automatically during the night or in the morning at the best time to program. When you wake up, sit up in bed or on the edge of the bed. Close your eyes and turn them upwards approximately 20 degrees. Lower your head approximately 20 degrees. Enter your level, and then you are ready to do your programming. When you desire to use the broadcasting technique, proceed as follows. Enter your level and program yourself to wake up automatically with the best time to program technique. The first time that you wake up, during the night or in the morning, sit up in bed and enter your level with a 3-to-1 method. At that time, imagine broadcasting your message and imagine the person or the people you desire to communicate with receiving the message and responding to it. Mentally picture people responding to your broadcast in any ways that you can imagine. You have practiced entering deep, healthy levels of mind. In your next session, you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind faster and easier than this time. Every time you function at these levels of the mind, you will receive beneficial effects physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help yourself physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help your loved ones physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help any human being who needs help physically and mentally. You will never use these levels of the mind to harm any human being. If this be your intention, you will not be able to function within these levels of the mind. You will always use these levels of the mind in a constructive, creative manner for all that is good, honest, pure, clean, and positive, and this is so. You will continue to strive to take part in constructive and creative activities to make this a better world to live in, so that when we move on, we shall have left behind a better world for those who follow. You will consider the whole of humanity, depending on their ages as fathers or mothers, brothers or sisters, sons or daughters. You are a superior human being. You have greater understanding, compassion, and patience with others. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. At that time, you will open your eyes and be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. You will have no ill effects whatsoever in your head, no headache, no ill effects whatsoever in your hearing, no buzzing in your ears, no ill effects whatsoever in your vision and eyesight. Vision, eyesight, and hearing improve every time you function at these levels of the mind. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3, at the count of 5, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before, feeling the way you feel when you have slept the right amount of revitalizing, refreshing, relaxing, healthy sleep. 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. And may the rest of your life be the best of your life. This concludes the best time to program and the broadcasting techniques for Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP systems.